Now, News Track had definitive coverage on many important movements of our contemporary history. And the demolition of the Babri Masjid was one of them. And you wrote an article where you spoke about how you felt that no one had ever really got into how that dome came down so swiftly. That was one of the points you made. The other point you made was that you thought L.K. Advani may not have been fully in on, he was more like an intellectual mascot for the movement, may not have been fully in on the plan to bring this dome down. And the third point you made was that there was a role of the Congress that hadn't been spoken of enough. Can you look back at that moment? And, it changed India at that moment. Now there's a Ram Mandir sanctioned by the Supreme Court that will be opening, in January of 2024. Talk about that story, that assignment.
See, first of all, remember that BJP had 2 seats in parliament.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This Yatra, which our present Prime Minister was involved in organizing.
Yes.
In fact, when I went to see him in Gandhinagar about 3-4 years ago, he told me that मैं आपके office में आया था. I was so embarrassed because I couldn't remember. And I don't know how I treated him. So it was a little nerve-wracking. But so it was a brilliant idea as to build a party.
Yeah.
But it wasn't such a brilliant idea to bring, in my mind, to bring religion into politics. Because the minute you do that, you start playing in a very dangerous field.
But had religion not been in politics earlier? I mean, you made the point that it's now well established that Rajiv Gandhi opened the locks well before the demolition takes place.
That was not done as a political
construct.
movement.
Yeah.
It wasn't done like if you are Hindu, you have to follow Hindutva and BJP is Hindutva. BJP, Arun Nehru, not Rajiv Gandhi so much. It was Arun Nehru who was really quite a Kattar Hindu, as I recall. He was the one who got the locks opened. All right. Now, the other part where the Congress was involved was that Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. He turned his head away. He knew exactly what was going on. Are you going to tell me that he didn't know what was going to happen? He knew what was going to happen. It was a deal between Kalyan Singh and him and Hone do. Because basically, I don't know, maybe there was some ideological Hindu thing, political with Rao. I don't know. I can only guess at that. But I do know that he was the Prime Minister and obviously Barkha, he could have stopped it.
Yeah.
But he didn't. All right, that's one thing. And you asked me about the bringing down of the dome. If you saw the dome, it is a solid structure. All right. But it didn't come down with
shovels and axes.
Yeah, that was an image that everybody saw. But what happened, as I explained, I think in that story when we covered it, was there came a moment, there were 2 sets of people, one set with orange bands and one with yellow bands. And there came a moment when everybody was called off the structure and all the orange bands were chucked out. They were asked to leave. I remember seeing footage of Murli Manohar Joshi and Sanghi was his name. I'm not sure about the 2 people in the footage who you could see they were pushing all the orange band car sevaks out.
Yeah.
And only the yellow ones were left. After that actual footage of the explosion, like come on, a building goes up or down, there has to be rubble, debris, smoke. Yeah. Nobody got that. Because just before that, they had given the green light to beat up all the journalists. So we had footage of a German reporter being beaten, blood streaming down his neck, and he's shouting, call so and so and this and that. And our cameraman also, they were all beaten, and he took out the VHS, which we then made a story of, and threw it under the charpai of one of the priests in the rooms and went back to retrieve it later. But that actual explosion, Barkha, is not possible unless it had been wired with explosives. That's my belief.
So it was prearranged.
Yes. And as far as...
So it wasn't Advani saying, when he said, it is the saddest day of my life, we lost control over this crowd. You don't believe...
Actually, I'll tell you, he did. Because he thought that he would go there on this yatra, give a few speeches. Everybody thought that hum speech denge. All the leaders, the BJP leaders, were prepared to give speeches. And then just ye naare do teen laga ke everyone go home peacefully.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that there was another faction in there who had planned this whole thing out.
Mm.
And when it happened, my reporter told me that he was with Advani ji at that time, and Advani, in his description, was that he was like having a nervous breakdown. He was wringing his hands and crying and saying, "Ye kya ho gaya? Ye kya ho raha hai? Ye kya ho raha hai?"
And you're arguing that that tone did not come down because of the axes and shovels.
Not possible.
And Rao, in your opinion, the Prime Minister of the time and the Chief Minister of the time of Uttar Pradesh had a deal. Why then has the Congress not been held to account?
When is the Congress? Has anyone been held accountable?
Nobody. You also make the point about the
Not
Labour
for
Party
1984, not for 2000. Who's been held accountable? No one. Has Brij Bhushan been held accountable?
His bail was unopposed.
That's what I'm saying. Our country, it's somehow why we shield people, why we don't get to the bottom and actually hold people accountable so that people feel that you have to follow the law.
Mm.
But the power of the hideousness of power that people think they can get away with it.